Today we are diving into how we helped a local co-working space book well over 100 appointments for their office space. And stay tuned to the end. We're going over a couple key takeaways and lessons learned from this entire engagement. There's one specific thing you're going to want to pay attention to. It cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in missed opportunities, and here's how you can learn from it as well. Okay, so firstly, just want to show you a couple quick pieces of data. I had my client success director send me this on over. This was I'm blocking out their name here, but you can see May 1st he had just sent this over. I'm recording this on May 15th, so it's fairly fresh. The cost per lead in this engagement has been $69.71. We generated over 360, well, I shouldn't say over, we generated 364 leads, and of those, the number of appointments that were actually set were 119 appointments. So that equaled a $213 cost per appointment, and that was ultimately a 33% lead to appointment set ratio, which is pretty solid if you're in the appointment booking space, especially for most of those were in-person tours. So let's go ahead and dive into the ad account structure real quick. You can see we're looking at their campaign. There's only one campaign selected. That actually, this is a brand new campaign, or I would say a brand new ad account. They'd never ran ads on this ad account before, so it's brand new for this engagement. You can see once again 364 leads. Cost per lead was $69. They'd spent $25,000 on this campaign here. And here we have the ad set and the ad structure as well. We kept it very, very simple on the ad set level. So on the ad set level, we only had one audience that we really had to test out, and it worked really, really well. I'll go over the targeting really quickly. It was simply targeting entrepreneurs and business people in the, I would say, overall demographic area, or the geographic area specifically, of the places that would be most likely to want to visit and or make an office out of where this co-working space was actually located. I'm trying to keep it kind of grayed out for anonymity's sake, because we'll get into that later on. But once again, you can see on the actual ad level, we did quite a bit more testing here. We had 30 ads that we had tested over the course of the engagement, and you can see one of them did really, really well. It had an $87 87 leads that brought in, and that was a $59 cost per lead. But once again, average cost per lead $69. And so if we go into like, hey, how did we actually take all those leads and turn them into appointments? It was actually really simple. We used something called WooSender. WooSender is an artificial intelligence software, or a platform, you could say. We specifically set this up for the client, and what that does is that every single time a lead came on in, WooSender was immediately sending text messages and emails to the new leads saying, hey, so-and-so just saw that you submitted your information, you were interested in essentially seeing some of our office space solutions, wanted to hop on a quick call and see would this time, or this time be good to be able to get you the information that you're looking for. And it automatically follows up with all leads and turns them into real appointments. Once again, this was a 33% appointment set ratio. Not too many of the appointments were actually, like, I don't even think we used a VSL or like a special call booking page in here. We specifically just used WooSender. We kept it very simple. I would say simple for us. Once again, that's pretty easy for us to set on up. But yeah, that's what we used to get all of those appointments set up. Now, I'm going to go into a few other actions that we used that worked out pretty well in this engagement. Number one, we pivoted the initial call to action. So when WooSender was immediately sending all of those texts and emails to all of the new leads, at first it was saying, hey, when would be a good time to come on in for a tour? That tour was way too much friction for an initial lead to commit to. Most people did not want to carve the time out of their day to go to an actual physical location for a quick tour. So instead we said, hey, let's pivot it from, instead of a tour, let's just do a quick like phone call. And on that phone call, it could be pretty much a setting call. And so the way that we really pitched that to the co-working space, we said, hey, instead of these people coming on in for tours, they're going to be scheduling quick 5 and 10 minute phone calls with you. And ultimately that is solely for you guys setting the appointment. And so on those calls, you should just be pretty much saying, hey, so-and-so saw that you submitted your information, you were interested in this type of an office space. And they were mentioning that on the lead form they were filling out. They were saying if they're interested in either an office space, the general co-working space membership, or an actual like booking a meeting room. And then they had also said which specific location they were interested in. And so based on the location they were interested in, that would route to that specific location manager's calendar. So anyway, the location manager would call them up. They'd say, hey, saw that you were interested. Just really quick, wanted to make sure I got some quick information for you. Can you give me a quick rundown? Like what sort of what size space are you looking for? How many people are going to be coming on in? What sort of business do you have? And so they were collecting a couple pieces of information, pretty much pre-qualifying them. And then they were saying, cool, we have a space that I think would work really, really well for you. How about you come on in for a tour? Would tomorrow or the next day be better for you to come on in, and we'd love to show you that space. And so that's how we were booking, number one, the initial appointment, and then converting them into in-person tours. Had a really, really high appointment set rate. Once again, that's when it shot up to 33%, was whenever we switched to the initial, when we made that initial pivot in that call to action. So that worked really, really well. And also, it was a very high conversion rate from the phone calls to having people show up for those tours. It worked very, very well. I would say probably 80% of the appointments that were set were turning into actual tours. So it worked really well. Number two, another action that we did was market research to drive the copy and creative strategies. Okay, so there are, in this specific client's market, there were a number of other, they're a pretty solid sized metropolitan city, and there were a number of other co-working spaces out there on the market that were also running ads. And we wanted to make sure that we stood out a little bit more from kind of the other competitors that they had, that they were, technically speaking, competing against. And so we wanted to make sure, number one, we were actually just looking at the other competitors in the ad library to see what sort of messaging were they using, what sort of a sales process were they using. Like, number one, we don't want to recreate the wheel. We just want to make it better. And so we wanted to see the sales process, and then also make sure that we weren't using the same messaging that they were all using. And so, for example, if one person was talking about how, fancy their co-working space was, we were not going to go that route. Or maybe if one person was talking about how it was, come on in for the most creative space in all of this specific city. Cool, we're not going to use that same line that they're using. We're going to obviously, let's just get a gauge on where everyone is at with their marketing, and let's see how can we make ours stand out. And so just without going into too much detail, we were definitely doing a lot of creative strategies on their competitors. And then that then drove specific split tests that we were running. And so the copy, we were doing some emotional copy of like, hey, essentially like your growing business is not going to really suffice for the kitchen table, right? Like a growing business needs more than a kitchen table. It needs a true office space that you could grow a team in. We also talked about how, you can be much more productive when you work out of the home. So that way, you could separate work from home. And so we had a couple different ad angles that we were testing, but once again, going back to the ads, we had 30 different ads that we tested, and primarily it was the creative strategy. And then that drives down into the third one, which is we had to ditch the professional creative. So if you go back into the actual ads here, this one ad that had the 87 leads, this was a selfie video of them actually going through the office, and they actually had one of their members that was pretty much saying, hey, look, here's why I have an office at this specific location. Here's what I was able to do with my office, and it worked really, really well. It it visually just showed how you can make that space your own. Worked very, very well. Pretty much all of the other types of ads were focused on professional creative and professional photo shoots. What I mean by that is when we onboarded this client specifically had photo shoots that were done of all of their different locations, and they really wanted us to push those pretty hard. And I have never in the 9 years of advertising of my background seen professional ad creative work very well. And once again, this was just another time where that proved to be true. We had to ditch the professional creative. It didn't work very well. I wish I had data that was shown here on the click-through rates, but it was treacherous. I mean, once again, $205 cost per lead, $240 cost per lead. This one $80, $85, $155, and then the selfie video, it just went straight down to almost. It was actually sub $60. So you can see that's clearly what worked the best. So sexy doesn't sell here, okay? And so lessons learned and takeaways here. The third one here is going to be the biggest. But number one, once again, do your market research. Make sure that you're not just putting out another Me Too style marketing message or advertising message. Make sure that your ads actually stand out and that they are different from your competitors, or else you will get lost in the crowd, and you'll probably see an unnecessarily high CPM and a really low click-through rate because of it. So anyway, once again, do your market research. Number two, sexy does not sell, okay? Like those professional website, well, I mean, a professional website's fine, but like those super professional photo shoots for your ads, it's not going to work very well. People are on social media because they want to be entertained, and they are expecting selfie style videos. They're expecting videos that are shot on the iPhone or pictures that were shot on your iPhone. And so meet them where they're at, give them that sort of expectation, come across like you're super, super real, even when you are. Once again, like this specific client, they were selling office spaces. This is a professional service that's being offered to other entrepreneurs and business people. Average deal size, I'd say, $1,500 per month or higher. So really, you're looking at $18,000 a year contracts that are being pushed. Selfie videos still work, okay? We even have really almost all of our clients are in the B2B space, and the selfie style, just direct to camera, works so much better than anything shot on something super, super professional, like a 4K video. Like, you just don't need all that. Okay, and then the third lesson, this is by far the biggest. This probably cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and fully transparent, this is why we're not currently working with this engagement any longer. This engagement has ended, and this is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Okay, so if you, like more so specifically, refusal to implement professional advice will cause you to lose money. Okay, here's what I mean by that. So once again, going back, we had over 100 booked appointments, 119. Once again, probably about 80% of those converted into actual in-person tours. Guess how many clients were actually closed? One. There was roughly a 1% close rate on those tours. And you can't say that's marketing's fault. Like, marketing did what it could. It drove in physical people into a building wanting to be pitched on something. We had given a multitude of advice. Like, with any single client engagement that we get into, we are always advising the client with sales. We're doing sales call recordings, or like, we always have the client record their sales calls or record their sales interviews, their consultations, give them to us so that way we can do call reviews and give them feedback on how more deals can be closed. We also are consistently looking over pipeline management strategies and how you're going about managing and following up with your pipeline. And like we're going over all of that stuff. We're going over what sort of scripts or frameworks are you using on your sales calls and presentations. And this specific deal, once again, I'm trying to be vague for anonymity's sake, this specific deal went south. I could have said probably from month one. Month one, we had well over 20 tours, and once again, zero of those tours had been closed into deals. And had mentioned to the client at this specific engagement, they have these pretty much office managers that are doing a whole bunch of different activities within each location, and sales are not their primary role. And I said from day one, I said we need to have a dedicated salesperson working all of these leads and appointments, because your office managers will be too busy to really work the pipeline properly and be incentivized. Like, they actually need to be incentivized to close deals. And this specific client did not want to do that. They wanted their office manager to essentially be the salesperson. Even though they didn't want their office manager to be incentivized to close deals or working pipeline per se. And so anyway, that was number one. That was strike number one. They wouldn't hire a dedicated sales rep. And that's actually something we even tried, like, anytime we need to bring more salespeople on into a deal, we're happy to help find new salespeople for that specific client. Like, it's not just, hey, like, here's what you got to do, go do it, and we're going to completely just kind of stand back and let you do it. It's like, no, like, we'll help you do it. But they did not want to entertain that. And then going further, we said, okay, well, these specific people that are handling the tours need to be trained properly on, like, really effective sales strategies. And so they gave us essentially one call per week that we were able to meet with their office managers to help them out with sales. But imagine if you're trying to learn a new instrument and you don't know that instrument super well. Let's take the piano, for example. If you take someone that doesn't really know the piano, maybe they could play another instrument, but they've never played the piano. If you only let them practice piano for 1 hour per week, do you think they're going to progress at the rate that would be really anything at all substantial with 1 hour per week of practicing the piano? Not at all. Okay, they might learn about it, but, like, they're not going to get that repetition, and they're not going to get the mind muscle repetition and the connections in that they need to really progress with any sort of substantial progress. So that was strike number two. And then strike number three was simply not actually managing. There were multiple locations, and we were having issues with trying to figure out kind of quality control and figuring out like we had a system set up where all of the calls, the initial like kind of setting calls, could be recorded, and they were using their own phones instead of using the call software that actually recorded those calls. So they actually kind of kept us from being able to give the feedback that we needed to give, because we actually couldn't do call recordings anymore after, like, there's only one location that actually did the call recordings and no one else really abided by that. And so that was really frustrating as well. There were a couple other situations that went wrong here, but like we were continuing to give professional advice on here's what we need to be doing to close more deals. And at the end of the day, like I guess once again, you can do everything you can as a marketer, as an agency, to help someone out, but if they don't want the help or if they don't value that specific part of their business, you just can't do anything about it. And so fully transparent, not too much money was made in the back end of this, which is really a shame. Once again, we had over 119, well, we had 119 booked appointments. I think about 100 of those converted into in-person tours, and I think one total deal closed. So very unfortunate, but once again, just being super transparent with lessons learned and takeaways here. And so my ultimate piece of feedback for you that's watching this video: number one, do market research. Number two, keep in mind that sexy does not sell. And number three, make sure that if you're working with a professional, actually take their advice. If you're actually like if you have something that you're struggling with and someone's telling you what to do and you're not doing it, you're going to be left quite literally empty-handed with the results that you say that you want. So that's about all I have for you today. If you'd like mine or my team's help actually installing an appointment booking funnel into your business and actually having us help you with the sales aspect and being able to close more deals, so that way, once again, you could get qualified leads, qualified appointments being set for you, and then actually being able to close those deals into a profitable cost of acquisition to be able to bring on more clients. There should be a link in the descriptions. Definitely go check that out. We'd love to help you out. Our average turnaround time is usually around 30 days. So anyway, feel free to book a call with us, and we'd be happy to see if that would make sense for you and your business. That's about all I have for you today. If you got any other value from this video, please feel free to like or share this video. Even subscribe to the channel would mean so much to me. Feel free to check out some of the other videos on the channel as well. All right, much love, and I will see you guys soon.